What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. I got another shmup for you today. Yeah, we haven't done one of these in a little bit now, and this one's kind of interesting because I didn't actually get a press code for this, nor did I buy it. This is a game I actually won, if you can believe it. One of those little Twitter contests where people give away keys sometimes, and I actually won something. So I want to give a shout out to both the developer as well as the Indie Game Collective, because they were the ones who ran the contest that I won this from. But that's actually not why I'm covering it. I'm covering it because I think it's actually really cool and a shmup that does a lot of interesting things, and I really wanted to show it off to you guys. So this is Galactic Wars EX, and you may be looking at this right away, especially that font, and going, boy, this looks like Gradius. And it has some in common with Gradius. Maybe a little bit in common with R-Type, though, not really. But this is very much its own beast in a way I've never seen before. So it does have two-player local co-op, or you can play by yourself. There's 3 different kinds of ships you can play with, as you can see here. I'm going to pick the balanced one to start with. There's a little bit of a story. It's a shmup story, and it doesn't really matter that much. And where this thing is very different is in its scoring system and also in the way it handles weapon power. So most shmups out there, the vast majority of them, either have constant auto fire or very much encourage you to button mash to keep your string of fire going as much as you can. This is the complete opposite. You will see down there in the bottom left that there is an energy meter, and the faster I fire, the faster it degrades. Exactly. If you button mash in this, you will screw yourself, because you don't have enough energy to keep up continuous fire. So you have to very carefully time your shots, really memorize the enemy waves quite well, and make sure that you don't run things out and that you're firing very strategically. Honestly, if you're an old school shmup player like me, starting this game off is going to feel like you're fighting muscle memory, really hardcore, which I thought was quite interesting. And I just think it's a really cool way of doing things. And you're going to see what your incentive is there as well. So you saw it flashing up as I was playing. So every time you perfectly clear out a wave of enemies, you will get an increase in your score multiplier. As you can see, the scoring system in this is not super high. The default high score in this game is mental. It'll take a lot of practice to get up there. And so every time you clear out a wave perfectly, your score multiplier goes up. If you miss even one enemy in one wave, it resets. Doesn't go down by 1, it goes back to nothing. And you got to build it back up from scratch. It's a real interesting dichotomy, because this is a game you could, if you're not really focused on score, you could get yourself through it with given enough time. But if you're going for score in this game makes you work for it and really makes you learn the levels, learn the enemy patterns, learn the best strategies, learn the best power-ups to get in what order. And I've just never seen anything like it. I think it's fascinating. So speaking of power-ups, you have seen a bunch of different ones dropping there, and what you can do is when they get dropped down, you can shoot them to change what they are before you pick them up. So you have shield power-ups, fairly self-explanatory. You have missile power-ups, which is something that also works differently than most shmups, and we'll get to that. You have power, which will increase your gun's shot power, and then once you max that out, we'll start spawning options around you, and you have speed. And what's interesting is if you max out any one of those attributes and pick up another one of that type of power-up, it actually gives you a temporary burst of unlimited energy to shoot with. And you can see I got it right there. You'll see that the energy bar is flashing. So for a period of time, I can button mash and I won't deplete my energy reserves at all. But you got to pay attention to that because it's limited. And if you're not watching the meter, which can be hard to do when you're trying to take your, when you don't want to take your eyes off the action, you can all of a sudden find out that you overdid it, and you're like, oh crap, now I'm in a bad spot and I got to wait for myself to recharge. The recharge in this is not instantaneous, so you got to really pay attention. And all this dichotomy, I think, is just super cool. In addition to that, if you're thinking of a game like Gradius, you're probably thinking of the way its missile power-ups work, which is that you pick them up and you just start dropping missiles constantly whenever you're firing. That's now how it works in this. The missiles are limited, very limited. So you're seeing there in the bottom, so here's the first boss. In the bottom there, I'd say you'll see there's a little counter with a missile thing beside it. So I have 5 of them. So you can press the button to fire those off, and they can be taken out by certain enemy projectiles, so you gotta watch that too. But they have a very strong, they're very powerful, and they have a very strong AoE as well. So you can take large groups of enemies out with them, or if you can target them well, you can do some significant damage to a boss, like I just did there. I actually smoked that guy really good. And so, again, you have to watch it. This game is very much focused on scarcity. There's nothing that's unlimited in this. And if you try to treat it that way, the game will smack you back and smack you back hard for it. And I really love that idea. I haven't seen, like, I love shmups, and there's a lot of great shmups I play that really are adhering to pretty much the same ideas and design conventions. You know, it's a genre that in many ways tends to play it fairly safe in that regard. And it's fine. There's a ton of great shmups out there that play in fairly similar ways, but with their own personalities. This just upends the whole concept of how shmups play. I've never seen another game that works the way this one does, and I think it's fantastic for it. It's a really, they brought some really unique ideas to the table here with this. Another cool thing that I didn't talk about here is how multiple lives work. So beside the missile counter there at the bottom, you're going to see that I do have, I do have lives, and they are limited. But the way most shmups work is when you die, the game will either take you back a ways and respawn you so that you have to do a section over again. That's what R-Type does. Indeed, that's one of the things that makes R-Type so blisteringly difficult. Or they will respawn you sort of where you were, but it takes a few seconds and it can mess up your pacing because you might lose you know, some of the enemies that you were fighting. You might lose a wave, you might lose some power-ups that will scroll off the screen. It makes you wait a little bit as punishment. Well, what this one did, and you can see there because I just ran out of stuff, what this does is it doesn't interrupt the action at all. You respawn immediately. It's almost like you didn't die. And I think that's a really interesting way to go about it. But of course, because it is still a limited lives mechanic, you can only do that so many times. And again, really unique idea. See, I technically died there because I ran into that rock, so I got a little bit of invulnerability, but the game just keeps going. It doesn't pause, it doesn't take me back, it just throws you right back in it. Really neat idea. And something you've got to pay attention to. So here's a mid-level enemy here we got to deal with. And everything this does is just very different to what I've seen before, and I think it's really, really, really cool. I'll pick a different ship here. Yeah, it is a score attack game, so there are leaderboards. I really do wish the leaderboard implementation was different. That's my only gripe, to be honest. The local leaderboard system works fine, though a lot of the default scores are completely nuts. It does have an online leaderboard system, but it's incredibly basic. It shows, like, I believe it's the top 20 worldwide, and it shows them based on their Steam names, but you can't search beyond that. So you can't see where you fit in the leaderboard, you can't compare against your friends, you can't even see beyond who the top 20 are, as far as I'm aware, and there's no replays either. Replays are not always necessary, but I really like them in games like this, because it's a great learning tool. Yeah, I really wish the leaderboard implementation was better, for sure. I think a game like this really needs a robust leaderboard system, at least the ability to track more than the top 20 and to search the online leaderboards and compare against your friends. Replays would be nice, not necessary, but yeah, I do think they need to, they could have put a little bit more in on that. But that's pretty much my only real gripe. I think this is a really cool shmup. As you've seen so far as well, the levels are surprisingly long. You're going to be at it for a while. There's a lot to learn and a lot you're going to have to memorize in order to... Like, if you want to get through a level without missing a wave, I mean, I don't even know how you do that in some cases with the way some of these enemies fly by. I'm sure it's doable, but it's going to involve you having to do some really hardcore memorization and really, really learning the levels and the enemy waves back to front. And some people are going to be into that, some people are not. But even if you're not, you can still finish this game without that level of commitment. And if you just want a shmup with interesting mechanics that you just want to try challenge yourself to get to the end of, you can absolutely do that too. This is just, it's really cool. It's innovating in shmups in a very significant way that you don't get to see very often. And I think the ideas they bring to the table are well thought out, well executed, and just make for an experience that's familiar. Obviously, you can't look at this and not know exactly what genre it is, but it's something that feels like an experience no one else is offering, and I really like that. You don't get to see that. You don't get to see that too often. Okay, sorry, it's a top 10, not a top 20. See what I mean? That's just, I wish we had a little bit more than that. But other than that, this is really cool. Really, really cool. And I'm really happy to see innovation in the shmup genre, and I really hope this game does well and that these devs get to continue doing things like this, because they got something really special here, and I would love to see what other shmup tropes they could apply their chops to. I think they have a chance to do some really awesome stuff with that. So yeah, that is Galactic Wars EX. It is out now. I'm playing it on PC. Not sure if it's anywhere else yet. The title will say. And I really hope that if it's not, this would be a great console game. Would obviously run on anything. This game will also pretty much run on a potato. So if you're a low-spec gamer, this is a great option for you to have something to do if you're into shmups. And yeah, I really like this genre, and I really like to call out well-done innovation when I see it, because we don't get it all the time. And these guys, they did it, and they did it really well. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it, as always. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about this game. What other really interesting, innovative shmups have you seen in the last few years that really break the mold? I'm always interested to know about those. Any comments you can give or things like that really help get the channel noticed by more people, so I would greatly appreciate that. And you can also follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. I do multiple variety streams a week over there, usually indie and retro focused, including playing a lot of games that are better suited to streaming that you won't find over here on YouTube. I have a fantastic community over there, and I would love to see you be a part of it. Thank you again, everybody, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take it easy, everybody.